Next time you're in Dollar Tree, head on over to their wood section and grab one of these little wood crates. Or grab a whole bunch of them because it never hurts to have some extras in your stash. But for this project, we're going to need just one and a couple other little things like these you can pick up from Dollar Tree, little wood rings, some beads, or whatever you want to use to create some legs, and lots of nautical rope. Now don't mind mine, you'll see it's cut into sections. That's because this is my scraps. I didn't have any solid piece, so I'm gonna make it work. If you have a whole solid piece of nautical rope, that'd be fine, and you can remix this idea with whatever color works best for your decor. I completely untangled the nautical rope, so we were only using one single piece of the nautical rope at a time, and I switched off using hot glue and some wood glue to attach the rope. And I just took my time starting at the bottom and made sure to keep all the sections that I'm going to connect in the back of our box. When I was just about finished wrapping this rope around our crate here, I noticed that there were a couple little gaps, and I really did not care for the way that looked. So I grabbed the hot glue and I smooshed a couple little squirts in between those sections and gently pushed them together to close any of those spots. For this next little part, I'm going to use some twine. And I'm going to use just enough twine to wrap one time around the top. And no, one single little strand of this twine is not going to cut it. I'm going to need to cut many strands. I think I cut 12 in total to get this look. The cool thing about layering twine like this, it allows you to manipulate it. And you can create a nice fluffy layer like this, depending on how tight or how loose you have your little spiral just by twirling the twine together. I used to make thread bracelets and necklaces and anklets and all that stuff when I was younger. So that's where this idea is hailing from at the top of this basket. Am I showing my age? When I was happy with the way that I had the twine twirled together, I lathered up the hot glue right on the top of the crate and then gingerly pressed this down. And I did this section by section. I did the front first, and then I did each side individually, twirling the twine, slowly holding it in place and then gently pressing. When I got to the back, I just cut off all the excess. We're going to start off this project needing one of Dollar Tree's wire baskets, and in a second you'll see why I chose that one. Also, one of Dollar Tree's crates, and a bunch of tumbling tower blocks. We are firstly going to use the tumbling blocks to create a base that fits underneath of our wire basket. You can make this as large or as small as you want, just make sure it mostly fits. And then we're going to take some wood glue and hot glue to attach everything completely together. As you can see here, my base is slightly smaller than the bottom of the basket, and I'm completely content with that. But if you want to add more blocks, just throw some extra blocks on there. It's really not a big deal. It's just an aesthetic look, and it's going to make sure that everything stays together, so you do need a wood base. Now it's time to build a tower, and I'm using this basket because the wire gaps are larger than the other style baskets that Dollar Tree has. It's perfect for me to be able to use wood glue and hot glue and alternate putting tumbling blocks in each piece in the center, so this way it holds the wire basket down into place just like this. Once you have those 4 blocks into place, you're pretty much good to go, and you can either build straight up like I am, or you could build it off to the side and then just press it down. You might have a little bit more of an even build, as you can see in the end result. Mine's a little wonky, but it's not too noticeable for me, so I was fine with it. But if you want something that makes the blocks match up a little bit better, just do that off to the side and then attach to the 4 at the bottom you put on here. For a base at the top, I just glued 3 tumbling blocks together and then applied more of that wood glue and hot glue and attached our crate. It was at this moment that I realized the neutrals didn't really match. I grabbed some of my anti-waverly wax and a baby wipe to smear some on here, so this way everything kind of blended together and looked really nice. And this was a paint, so if you want to recreate this and you're going to paint it, do it before you put everything together. To tie the color of the wire basket in with the top of the crate, I decided just to grab a little rub-on transfer and put down in the corner. You can absolutely use whatever rub-on transfers you would like, but for those wondering where these in particular came from, they are part of my own creative brand called TDS, and they can be found on my website. I'll have a link down in the comments pinned, as well as a link to my website in the description box. Just click the more button right under this video for anyone that wants to check them out. This piece could be used for so many different things, but for the video and staging purposes, I put some greenery in here with a little bit of florals and a candle accent. For these decorative wall planters, you're going to need a lot of tumbling blocks and some wood glue and hot glue to be able to attach everything completely together, or use whatever works for you. This is what I'm going to be using. And we're going to start the build off by creating rows of 3. You can obviously reconstruct this with whatever way you feel is best for your tumbling tower project. I just felt like making as many stacks of 3 to start out like this would be the best way to go about this project for me. And for anyone wondering how many, 12 sets of 3 are going to be needed for each shelf. Then we're going to take the sets of 3 and glue 3 of them together by 3. So 3 by 3 by 3. 3 is the magic number for this project. Until you get to the sides, then it's 4 if you really think about it. Anyhow, moving on. When you have all of those glued together, then it's time to basically construct the box is what we're doing. It's like a box shelf, and then we're going to put a little planter on the inside of it. And people, I honestly thought this idea would look really cool too if like you did an extra layer, so it was like too thick. You feel what I'm saying? For the little planter that we're putting in here, I'm gluing sideways 4 tumbling blocks, and then I'm going to take and put like a little lip on each edge, just with 1 block, and put it on there sideways like this. We will be able to take that little piece and just glue it right on the front. But before we get to that part, I'd like to make my life extra complicated. So I am going to take some of this DAP spackling that I pick up from Walmart. It is really inexpensive. I love this stuff. It's super buttery smooth. And we're going to smear it all over the piece. This way, it kind of fills in some of the gaps. If you're going to paint a piece and you want this to look a little bit more high end, it really helps to fill in some gaps or imperfections or some of the spots where the wood just isn't so even, because not all tumbling tower blocks are created equal, and give you a higher end look. When they were all dry, I took a 200 grit sandpaper and gave them a light sanding outside. And now I'm just going to take my Waverly Snow White paints and give this 2 coats. I even painted this little piece right here. Now here's where it's gonna get a little tricky, but follow me. We're gonna need some burlap, and I'm going to just cut the fancy schmancy edge where it's like sewn and glue that down to the front side of our planter. This way it looks just like this, and make sure it's completely dry before you go bringing on in the stapler for this next part. I mean, feel free to use the glue for this part if you want, but I just feel like tucking the pieces of this burlap in the back of where our little planter is going to be and stapling it down was just the best alternative for me. For the hanger, I took some twine, well, many strands of twines, like 8 or 10, and did a light twirl, stapling them right on the sides and then keeping it loose in the center. I wanted to hide those yucky staples, so I grabbed some of these cute little wood buttons I had hanging out in my stash hoard back there and glued them to the sides to cover right over them. Added some glue to the bottom of our little planter pieces, put them in the center, added some greenery, and you can glue your greenery down if you want, or you can leave this just so you can switch it out with the seasons all year long. If you're interested in hanging out with me some more and getting some more Dollar Tree inspiration, check out this video right here. As always, people, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today, and until next time.